Hey guys, this is Turek, and today I'm going to be doing a review of chapter 1120 of One Piece. I keep thinking in my head like the how the chapters for a while look like binary. So I keep thinking 1117. We're 1119 was the last one. Now we're on 1120, so 1120. That's still in binary. I studied binary. I studied IT in college a few years ago, but I forget the binary stuff. They didn't cover that as much as I would like. The binary part was one of the interesting things because I like to get into the nitty gritty of how things work. I should go like this a little bit. There we go. The background's a little different because now I got a taller chair finally. I like an office chair, so it looks so weird because now I'm used to seeing. I'm looking over here, OBS. I'm so used to having something behind me, but it's just because of the height of this that I don't have to worry about that. Um, so today we're continuing right where we left off, and in the last chapter, I did miss something. I said in the beginning of the last chapter review, I was gonna miss something, and what I didn't get where was uh, that that was Joy Boy talking at the very end to the what's his name, Emet. I'm gonna say Emet for now. The This thing is also the robot is supposed to be referencing the Golem, I've heard, and I wish I would have caught that because I one of my favorite books is one about has a Golem as one of the part of the central plot. It's a fantasy series by an author named Jonathan Stroud called the Bartimaeus trilogy, and the second one is called The Golem's Eye, and it's a very good fantasy series. I won't go too much into here because I could talk about it all day, but the golem in there is a thing made from magic that is a very difficult thing to defeat. Uh, and uh, Anyways, this thing is supposed to be kind of like a golem. This thing was again, obviously, our friend Emmett here, as I'm calling him, was a ally to Joy Boy. And at the end of the last chapter, the beginning of the chapter we had started off too, though. The end of the last chapter, I'll stick to that in a minute. The end of the last chapter was showing Emmett had punched Top Man in the face and actually broke off one of his tusks. I don't know if that thing will grow back. Likely will, because Luffy's been doing all kinds of stuff like that. And I don't know. Actually, no, I don't think Luffy ever destroyed anything like that. So maybe whatever. Maybe that's it. Maybe whatever Emmett is made of is something that can harm them. Because we still haven't learned much about them at all, and well, we have all kinds of theories, obviously, but we'll go into that another time. But yeah, he had said. So it was Joy Boy. He's remembering something about that Joy Boy said. Well, that when the time is right, and he didn't. He actually, I remember that's funny because I just realized Oda's pulling that out again. He did that before. He had with that conversation when Pedro met Goldie Roger decades ago. He wanted to join Roger. Actually, I realized at that time that was funny because he uh it was funny to realize that Roger too was inspiring people, young men, as he went around the world to want to go off to sea like he does. Just the way we're seeing that Shanks is now with how he inspired Luffy, and when he's at Elbath, he was in that young giant wanted to join his crew, like real young, a kid giant. So this kid was like probably 30 feet tall. This kid's probably big as Big Mom. He's just a kid, and he's like, "Yeah, I want to join your crew, Shanks." So it's just great to see how like size doesn't matter. Like, so Shanks is probably like 6'1" or something like that, maybe a little taller, and he's so strong and impressive. You got a 30-foot giant saying, "Hey, I want to join your crew." Anyways, yeah, Pedro wanted to join Roger's crew. Like that was probably like, when did Roger pass away now? 25 years ago. Hey, that's another thing. I'm sorry, another tangent. Where's Roger's body? Yeah, where's Roger's body? I'll put a little. I'm trying to make a short yesterday. I was gonna do one when I did that one about Toriyama. But Roger, I was just thinking about how the other day about how Moria wants such strong bodies to reanimate. I'm surprised he didn't find Rogers. Tried to. I mean, he was young at the time, so maybe he didn't want to mess with the government because they had his body. But I'm just wondering if they burned it, if they kept it. I'm thinking they kept it for some reason. My gut's saying now it'd be important somehow. Well, yeah, Moria's still alive, right? We still don't know if Moria and Perona escaped successfully. All right, I'm gonna stop now. We're already 6 minutes in. I haven't even started the. Well, I'll edit it. We're way in this video, and I haven't started a review. So yeah, there's a. This thing is Wait, was looking for Joy Boy. It recognizes Luffy as Joy Boy. That's something that'll come up later in here. Anyways, yeah, the message is still continuing. Atlas in the last chapter, and Atlas realizes that Lilith is not Lilith. That York is still tracking them, and she's going to take action. This chapter technically focuses on Atlas, and anyways, yeah. So anyways, it's funny. We didn't get to see as much about with Bonnie being in her copy of Gear 5, and I am going to call it copy, but in the nicest way possible. It's really cool. Actually, that's one more tiny tangent I had. It's funny because I was rewatching Luffy's episode with him fighting Kaido when he finishes his transformation, and Saint what's the young one's called? The youngest guy. He called it the most wait. Ethan Top Man. Yeah, that's right. Peter. So Saint Peter's. St. Peter in the One Piece, it was in episode 1171 in the anime, was talking about how he heard that Luffy, the power of the awakened Nika fruit is the most ridiculous power. And it's just funny because now we're learning that with some imagination, with a good amount of imagination, with I don't know what her fruit's called, Bonnie's fruit, she has a power that's almost as ridiculous. Like, it's like a top contender at this point. Like, the only other thing I can think of that's interesting like that too is like stuff like I think Katakuri's power is pretty cool too, because he's like this Moochie, is that like a candy, right? And he can like shape shift parts of his body into different forms. Like, he does that donut thing and he forms spikes and uses hockey. So that's very versatile as well. There we go. We should make a contest. What's the most ridiculous power other than Luffy's? So I would go with Katakuri and Bonnie off the top of my head with the versatility they have. So anyways, let's get into this chapter. Oh, this video will be too long. So this chapter actually starts with a very interesting backflash with So we're getting, this is very clever in a way, I guess, too. Oda's trying to flesh out Vegapunk more, even though he's probably dead now. In fact, they still have his body and we don't know. I'm still wondering if he'll actually live. It's very interesting. I don't know, because the way Oda doesn't often kill off characters, and very important ones, I should say, I'm suspicious. Because even though we know that Shaka's dead and Pythagoras is dead, it's like I'm so suspicious because they got his body. What's going to happen? I guess they could just keep it and by give him a funeral at Elbath. But anyways, this chapter here starts in a flashback at Punk Hazard 26 years ago. So let's see. I think that's a year before Roger's caught, and oh, he's already caught maybe by the time. I think this is a year before he's executed. I think it's 25 years ago now, right? Or was it 24? I forget how many years exactly that was. I know it's well before. It's got to be something like that because it's before Luffy was born. Anyways, what we see here is we have a flashback between Clover and Vegapunk speaking together, and Clover at this time is already gathered quite a bit of information, and well, that makes sense because we know this is like I think 4 years before he's killed at O'Hara when under the Buster Call, where he's shot, right? And he goes here and he wants Vegapunk to help him in his research. He wants another He's doing a smart. This is like a, how do you call it when you're doing like a study? Basically, what it is, he wants Vegapunk to study over the research he's accumulated, like his probably like his own hypothesis. Say like you, so if you're like studying stuff and you write up like an essay, a research paper kind of thing, he Clover realizes it's good. The smart thing is when you make this hypothesis and have this research, you want someone else to comb over it and find problems with it. Likewise, if you're like writing an essay, you always should have someone else like proofread it. I never like writing essays, but I get the need for them. So he's like, yeah. So he's making a very Clover's making a very compelling speech here about the void, about helping him find research the void century specifically, and he goes into this very metaphoric statement about like there's so much darkness in the world and we can't leave it left alone, or this is left attended, and it's like we this needs to be uncovered. And he goes further later saying it's being destroyed, which I really like. That history should not be destroyed. I remember there was something like in the news years ago where some people had destroyed were destroying ancient ruins in the Middle East, and I was like, oh, it just was so heart wrenching. To just think that there's so many of these things that are so important to our past. I like what Oda's going with this too, because if I don't, so I'm gonna do a little tangent. If time machines existed and I had control of one, I would use it to study how certain cultures operated back in the day. I wouldn't want to interfere, because I'm afraid, I'm a believer of that style of time travel, that going back in the past can have drastic negative impacts on our present, and likewise going forward. But anyways, so he's going into that here. And so it's funny, yeah. So we're still seeing Vegapunk here with his head. It's neat. Oda draws it. He's got the head. It's about, so see Vegapunk. Well, I forget how tall. Vegapunk's quite tall. Yeah, Vegapunk's quite tall, and you can see his head's already like 3 times larger than. It's about the same as we see at Ohara, as we'll see at Ohara later. The Vegapunk here, he's already working for the government. This is obviously, see, he doesn't go to Egghead until 4 years from the past, so 22 years after this. So we've seen him talk here in front of Punk Hazard. It's funny that they're outside of Punk Hazard. I'm surprised that it seems that in a way that Vegapunk's very, very being cautious, and he ends up making a misstep with that later when he's talking with Kuma. And he makes a good point here. He says to Clover, Vegapunk says here, I don't think you realize why you're why you're still alive at this point. Yeah, why you've been captured so many times. The government knows who you are and what you're trying to do. He goes on to point out, like, they're letting you live now because they're going to wait until you've gathered too many people together that are like-minded, and they're going to snuff you out. Which we understand. Wait, what's going on here? Come on. Vegapunk is pointing out, like, you're going to get yourself killed. You've made it. You put this target on your back too much, and they're gonna come and get you, and they're just waiting for everyone else to come together. And this is a good point too, because I was thinking about this with the likes of Roger. Like, if Roger had continued sailing around after he found Raftel, I wonder if the government would have tried pursuing him. Obviously, it would be almost impossible for them to stop him. But it's funny to think about this. The context here I'm getting at is that Clover, Vegapunk's right. Clover, they know where his operation is. They can easily find him now. He has no defenses around Ohara. No way to prevent discovery. There could have been Cypherpole agents snooping around the village and listening in. It's so easy because he's nothing he's probably trying to do to stop that. We get interesting revelation here. we find out here that Clover is actually from the D clan as well. He starts out by telling us a story about how he saw someone killed before him, saw his older brother killed in front of his eyes. So we don't get the whole context here, but it looks like when he was young, it sounds like government agents were still trying to hunt down people with the D name. This is a very interesting thing to go into a little bit. I was thinking up until this point that the D clan, that the government knew that they're related to the affiliated with Joy Boy, and we don't know how yet, but they're somehow affiliated with that or with Vivi's ancestor. What was her name now? Shoot, I forgot her descendant's name, ancestor's name that helped spread the poneglyphs. But this insinuates that decades ago, because this would be Clover. This looks like Clover was a teenager or so when his brother was killed. That they were being hunted by the government, and Clover here is confessing this because he lied at the time and pretended he wasn't a member of the D clan, and they let him go. He was able to convince them, and they show a little mini flashback there with just silhouettes of what look like Cypherpol agents with the hats, and they got guns, and so it looks like they're going around hunting. So maybe whatever island Clover was living on was they were suspecting other D members could be housed there, and so yeah, he's confessing. Yeah. He's confessing here how like I regret that day, and I wish I had I lied to save my own skin, and this now I must make up for it. And he even says here, yeah, this world is so corrupt. People are now being killed just for having a certain name they're born with. So yeah, he is making a very declarative statement of what I just said, like that the D members are being hunted wherever they can. So that's right, because Law lied about his name too. Didn't oh shit, what's his name? Tell Law he should hide his name. So the thing with Garp though is, I wonder why they let Garp in the Marines early on if they would have known he's a D member. Obviously, by the time he was winning, becoming a well-renowned, with God Valley and such, they wouldn't touch him. But it's funny to think that they didn't try and snuff him out sooner. So yeah, this is a very interesting exchange that we had with between Clover and. Also, he gives his full name. Actually, I forgot to say that. He says his name is Clover. What's his first name? Clément? It looks like it's supposed to be French. I'll have to wait for the official translation. So they end this conversation. This is where Clover says, "Behind closed doors, history is literally being erased." So he's trying to compel Vegapunk to join up in his efforts by saying, like, reaching to his scholarly self, saying that we have to do this before things are destroyed. It's like it's our duty. It doesn't work with Vegapunk. He's like, no, I can't do anything. There's no deal. We should pretend this conversation never happened. Please be careful, though. And then Clover still can't believe that Vegapunk won't help him, and he shouts at him as Vegapunk walks back to in his lab, and he's like, "I'm gonna be the one I'm gonna solve this mystery." And he says something interesting here, saying about, "I can hear voices shouting from the past." I'm gonna pause on that briefly because that reminds me of Luffy and Roger and how they have the voice of all things. And also Momonosuke can do it, I should say. And I'm wondering if Clover had that too going on, or some version of that. So I'm wondering if like D clan members can hear that. Now I think Oden and Momonosuke Momosuke isn't really a D clan member, but I don't know. It seems like it doesn't have to be specifically have. Maybe they don't. Maybe like they are related to that, and they just dropped using the D in their name, like unlike the others like Luffy and Roger and such. Um, but we'll have to go over that another time. Uh, yeah, I just I think something else on it. Anyway, so now we continue this flashback. Well, now we jump to 22 years ago, and we see Vegapunk and Caesar at Punk Hazard together, and Caesar's such a dick here. So, uh, yeah, I think this is Caesar talking. Yeah, he's saying, "Did you hear about the news on O'Hara? It got destroyed by a buster call. I would have loved to have been there to witness that." We see him there all giddy and stuff, and he's saying, he's like, "That silly archaeologist Clover looks like he finally got done in by his own actions," and he just starts to just laugh. Uh, and he continues going on gloating. Well, not really gloating. What would you call it? I don't know, but he like, continues with like, saying it. Oh, now that he's been done in, that Clover, I bet no one else will ever try to study that void century again. Actually, that's funny there. It's funny because we. I think it's funny that he even knows about the void century because I think we can safely assume that most of the populace has no idea that there's a term of the void century. Actually, yeah, and not even some of the celestial dragons know. We saw the one woman a few chapters ago pondering what that is. So at this point, while Caesar's going around cheering and thinking about all the mass murder and stuff, he we see Vegapunk there finally. Like this is where we see Vegapunk is coming to that point where, and then again, we see him here at O'Hara again, where he's realizing that Clover is right or was right that about the Void Century, the history needing to be preserved, and how he doesn't say anything right there, but you see him walking away from the room where Caesar is, and he's kind of just sitting there, just kind of walking around, not and deep in thought, and so yeah, we see brief scenes again from the the lake where the books are. It looks like he's just sitting there. At this point, it's like he's sitting there probably after the giants left because it's just the water there now. And he's still holding the flowers. Oh no, there are still some books there. So did he come there before the giants arrived? Maybe so. And we also just see one panel too where he sees the wanted poster from Robin back then, and wait a minute now. So we get this one last scene with him in the past, and he's crying over how all these people, how they all died to leave a pile of books for the next generation, and he's just kind of rambling to himself about how the world's so stupid. Uh, Wait, how did they say that? They give up research, or yeah. Anyways, I'm kind of misunderstanding that translation. Yeah. So we transfer from that back to the present, and so yeah, we just see how Clover. So didn't they say that? Yeah, they said Clover was an associate. He knew Clover before. Yeah, I think through Shaka we saw that, but that was back in like 1066, I think. But this was nice to see this exchange and how it affected Vegapunk to hear Clover's compelling speech about the past being erased and how after Clover gave up his life that it really did jolt Vegapunk into finding a way uh, to continue Clover's legacy. So now we continue here. Sorry for the brief. Now we continue with Vegapunk's speech going on, and he quotes the thing we saw Clover say to him about, and he goes, "A wise old man once told me that I can hear a voice shouting from the past," and and he switches by saying history is usually something that only the winners get to tell. The losers always have their voices like snuffed out. He's saying like and uh and he said those voices lately have become quiet and they're being sunk down. They're at the bottom of the sea. And as he's doing this, we get a few more little areas of people. We see Zeph and Patty at the Bratier listening, and Zeph's just there with his arms crossed, and Patty too, I guess. And also briefly, unfortunately, see Tequila Wolf, that bridge where Robin was at. And the only thing we get to see though, so we got this one guard raising a whip and using it on the unfortunate workers there. And then we switch to one more we finally get to see Robin again. She's sitting in the ship, probably inside the ship somewhere, the Sunny, and sitting there listening. And there's a Denden Bushy right behind her that's broadcasting Vegapunk's audio. And as we're getting those shots together, we get two more statements here from Vegapunk saying that, however, after many sacrifices, we'll now learn the truth. Be able to learn the truth of the past, from that past that has been being squashed beforehand. What did he say now? Conveyed to the world. And sorry, he was saying one more thing, but we switch now to the Sunny, and we see the other wait, how's she saying it? I'm a little confused here. So Lilith and Zoro are having an argument. Lilith is pointing out, I think she's supposed to be off the ship, but I was just confused by the illustration because it looks like she's still there. But she's telling all the Straw Hats here, they have to get rid of St. Ethan. They have to shake him off from pursuing them. Otherwise, we will not be able to escape. She's going into a long-winded, how the calculations she's done. That if we lose any sort of speed and or all this technical stuff, they will not be able to get out to sea properly. And while we see this conversation going back and forth here, we see Ethan slowly walking back toward them in his hybrid form, holding Kitetsu, his Shodai Kitetsu, ready to swing it again. So I'm just surprised Zoro hasn't gone back out to meet him in battle. But instead we get a different thing. This is it's about to happen, and what happens here is Atlas. They are on the ground. Okay, Atlas comes behind. Oh, that's right, because she was flying up there from below. Atlas comes behind Lilith and knocks her out, and this shocks all of them. They're like, "What are you doing? Are you trying to kill her?" But with Atlas here has a plan. And what she does first, though, we see her reach behind Lilith and click something, which what we find out here is what that is that's shutting her off her connection to Punk Records. So she basically had a switch somewhere in her skull that turns off the Wi-Fi connection she has, or cellular connection, I guess, either or to Punk Records, because she knows. And actually, the thing I'm thinking about that, probably would be better to call it cellular, because she probably knows that even if they get a good distance from here, York is going to be able to tell that Lilith is still alive. By doing this, she's tricking York into thinking that Lilith has been killed. So she the others all jump up. It look like they're about to go up to Atlas, like, what's going on here? And Atlas then just turns to them and said, "Take care of Lilith for me, and get off. Start your plan and start flying right now. I'm gonna make sure. I'm gonna clear a path for you." It's for the words here. So, but it's like she's planning on stopping Ethan. We'll get into how in a minute. And as she says that, we just see the Straw Hats like, wait, what? How are you going to do that? You're going to get yourself killed. And while that's happening, we see, that Leorc has fallen for this. And she's like, Lilith's thing has been, connection's been destroyed. That means only Atlas remains. Again, I think I said this before, but as intelligent as York is, just almost like the same as Vegapunk, you could tell she is a Vegapunk because she, as intelligent as she is and knowledgeable, she's too gullible and thinking quickly coming to that conclusion and not realizing, remembering that, oh, maybe her thing's just been turned off. Like, what if Lilith just turned it off herself and did that? It doesn't prove she's dead. She's probably just, York seems to be just assuming because the Gorosei are out there hunting her fellow Vegapunk that they must be, if that signal is connected, that means they're dead. So we switch back to the Straw Hats here, and so Nami takes charge and says, "Okay, Zoro, do what Atlas says and bring Lilith back on board." And Zoro, we don't see Zoro do it, but he responds, "Okay," and we switched here though just to seeing York now. Ethan is coming towards the Straw Hat ship from the front, but York starts flying to intercept him. And as she's leaving, though, someone's yelling, probably like Usopp or Chopper, like, "Atlas, why are you doing this for us?" Wait, who says that? Someone says, I think that's Atlas. So we switch to Jinbei and Chopper runs up to Jinbei, like, "Let's go, get ready." And Jinbei's already seated there, and he's got is that the stern? He's got the steering wheel, I'm gonna just call it. And I think it's Atlas saying this: "If you delay your decision, you'll regret it." And then Zoro yells to Brook, right? Because Frankie's not there, right? Yeah, Frankie's down below. So Brook's down there ready to launch the Cootie Burst. And Zoro yells to him, "Now, Brook, do it." And as that's happening, we also cut back again to Atlas, and she's getting right up to Ethan, and she just charges into his torso and grabs him. I think she's grabbing him. Oh no, he cuts her arm off. Excuse me. He does intercept her, and she dodges it. It looks like just a bit, but not enough before he takes her left arm off. She looks like she's got a good grip on him with her right arm, and she's pushing him back. It appears with the she pushes him out of the way because he was directly in front of the Sunny, and we see they're off. She's pushing him off to the right from where the right of the Sunny's front, and then we start seeing the Cootie Bursts go and launch them off. And now someone says the broadcast is ending. Is that one of the Gorosei? Okay, we're gonna come back to Atlas. Yeah, we end that scene with just seeing Chopper and Usopp hanging on to Jinbei as they're launching off, and now we switch back to the scenes with the Marines and the Iron Giant. There, we shift. We're at this point seeing some of the Marines first, and Vegapunk's message is being conveyed back to us now too, and Vegapunk's saying, "I can now at this point. I'm hoping that my message has been safely delivered to everyone." And while that's happening, we see a conversation here with someone's talking to that Vice Admiral Hound, the one with the glasses, uh, uh, and someone's asking him what's going on over there. So he must be the only Vice Admiral. Well, no, Green, Bluegrass, and Dollar there, but I don't know. So anyway, someone's communicating with Hound, and all he says is, "I can't hear anything, so I don't know what's going on." So is he meaning because they're probably like trying to get a report because of all the stuff going on, because they're the ones pursuing the Giants at this point. So I'll lay out the scene a little bit. We see the ship, the giant ship still pretty close to the land. Actually, that ship has a name too. I forgot to look that up. Anyways, it's right there by the shore, and we can see the shots taken from behind some of the marine ships, and you can see the shore in front of them, and giant ships off to the left, and in the distance, just to their right is the Iron Giant, and we see, and then he's facing off, and we got with Top Man, we see his silhouette behind some flames, um, and so now we switch here. We see the reaction of Luffy and even to some of the giants and Frankie, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's a giant!" And they got the little stars. Oda draws those little four-pronged stars, showing like they're so excited. And so Iron Giant at this point faces Luffy and says, "Joy Boy, I'm so happy we finally can meet." And it just confuses Luffy because he still doesn't understand the Joy Boy reference. Because Bonnie didn't have time to speak, explain it either. We saw her calling that a few times at this point. So Luffy just stops there and is like, "Who? What?" And he's looking behind him and stuff. And the Emmett, right? His name. I'm calling him Emmett. Or is that? It's kind of like that. He says, "No, Joy Boy, I'm talking to you. You right there, the boy in the white, floating in the air and laughing his ass off." So here, who's seen it? I think one of the girls say at this point say, because no, that must be Vegapunk's thing. Sorry, I thought that was the Gorosei. No, he's going on saying it would be foolish to only hear the story of a 900-year-old conflict from one side. What does he say next there? But and he goes on. I'm gonna go ahead a little bit. He goes on like, it's best to look at history from multiple angles, and I wanted more time. And then he goes, however, there are still those who can't be stopped. And I'm going to stop there because it goes on a little bit. So there's some action going on here. So now Emmett, the Iron Giant, he walks past Luffy and starts going toward Top Man here. And he goes on to say, "I'm so happy I can fight by your side again, Joy Boy." And Luffy just is like, "Wow, you can talk. That's amazing." Oh, there's where they talk. Okay. And he says, "Joy Boy, you're in danger, so I'm going to protect you." And at this point, Peter also comes back out. We see Peter and Topman side by side, and they're working. They're figuring out they're ready to square off against Emmett here. And Topman says, "As long as we can smash it to bits," and Peter finishes his sentence saying, "Yes, we should be able to just finally stop Vegapunk's speech." So I keep forgetting that the Emmett here, the Iron Giant, is about to fight them, and he's still got a denda and mushy somewhere in his body, broadcasting everything. Actually, I just noticed too. Was he missing a horn before, or did they punch that off him? He has two of these horns. I thought he had the other one. Did Top Man destroy that? He crashed into him before, right? Anyway, so he's stopping up to slow them down. And so while that's happening, Dorian and Broggy take that advantage of that and say, "Okay, let's set sail again. This is our chance to get out of here." And one of them yelled to Luffy, "Do you think, hey, Straw Hat, do you think he's on our side?" And Luffy's like, "Hard to say, but he did say he'd protect some guy named Joy Boy." Who's that? Oh, how did I catch that? He's not actually speaking. He's speaking to Luffy directly. So in this next panel here, I missed this. Dory or Broggy, one of them said, "He's speaking. We didn't hear anything." And Luffy's just like, "Wait, really? I'm sure he was speaking to me." So is he using the voice of all things somehow? Some telepathic thing, something. So when I'm looking this way, I'm looking at my OBS to make sure nothing's going on wrong over there. We do see Bluegrass here, right? So Bluegrass is still there too, and she sees that the pirate ship, the giant ship, is leaving, and she starts yelling to the Marines on her ship, like they're trying to get away. Don't let up now. We still have a chance to get them. And this is happening. We're getting Vegapunk's message I just read to you about. I wanted more time to study this, but so as that's happening, we switch to St. Peter now is coming up on top of trying to come up over Emmett and to swallow him up. And Emmett brings out his left arm and he kind of holds it like I can't. I don't know if we got the camera's too close. He's trying to hold it in the same way that it looks similar to how when Frankie uses his weapons left, is kind of like this. I guess I'll just lean back. um, this gets we see actually Frankie and Sanji. They're both like, oh, he's gonna pull out some cool weapon, and we get the shot where Peter's coming down, and Peter and Emmett's got his arm out, and then there's probably a sound effect here where it's like charging up. Yeah, there it is. There's a sound effect. Where it's probably only like something like I'm just imagining like a louder version of like a gun cocking or something. And but Drew Peter keeps coming down, and we see the steam or smoke come from the arm, and it just stalls out, so it just doesn't work. And Emmett's just like, oh shoot, and so we switch back to Luffy, Sanji, and Frankie, and they're like, oh look out, it's almost on top of you, and so it's not able to what did he do? Oh wait, did he? I did miss that before too. Let me see that. Oh yeah, okay. Shoot. So Drew Peter gets right up to him and he literally snaps off that left arm and much of his shoulder of Emmett's shoulder right there, and he hits his right arm up in time to like probably prevent more, but maybe he was gonna chop his head off as well. His right arm he swings it out and is pushing back against Drew Peter's head there. And someone says here, is that supposed to be? I don't know if that's for Straw Hats or one of them was like, oh, it's a weapon from 900 years ago. Of course, he couldn't use it now. It's all busted up. And we see so now Saturn comes back, and he's like, Peter, eat him up, finish him off now, so we can stop the broadcast. So apparently, also that's so interesting. He just took off about a fifth of Peter. Just chewed off a fifth of Emmett's arm, but the broadcast still goes on a little bit longer here. And but with Saturn we see Saturn. He's running toward the shore. He jumps on top of Peter, runs across him, and then uses that height and leaps onto the back of the giant ship. And he's right there on the back stern. What do you call that back part? The end, and he's like staring. We see him, and we got Dory and Bragi right there, and some of the other giants, and they're not surprised by him. We actually get a cool shot there with some of the other giants that like jaw drop, like what the frig is that thing? And Luffy's right there too, but he's like, I'm not gonna let you guys get away. Come on, Bonnie. He's looking down. And he's like, look, are they still on the? I thought they took him down below, because we see Bonnie like look up like she sees him, but I thought. No, that's right. She would be. The Kuma was taken down below, I think. But Bonnie's still right there. And we see her still in her child form as well. But as this is happening, Sanji looks up and he notices the Sunny has launched off over the clouds now. And we switch up to the top there as that happens. And we see Zoro making sure, yelling to him, make sure you hold on. But we see some of them already are. We saw like Usopp and Chopper were hanging on to Jinbei, and next to Zoro, we see that Nami's grabbing the mass. They're landing. Looks like they're about to land. Doesn't look like they're gonna quite make it to the water here. And someone even says, "Wait, are we gonna be able to make it?" And as this happening, we finally switch back to that's how we finally switch back. Now I see. So Lilith was saying they literally weren't gonna be able to make it either. Because what happens here, we switch back to Atlas. She's hanging on to him still, but he like shakes her off, and he's saying to her, "So he's planning on sacrificing himself, eh?" And it looks like he cuts through her somehow. The shot's kind of small, so we just looks like blood flowing out her back. And I like the shot too. First, we see her like really like she's like hanging on, and she's gritting her, baring her teeth type thing, and then. After he cuts her, we see her smile, and she answers him by saying, no, think of this as a service. and then we go to the Sunny, and we see an explosion behind them. So she's somehow self-destructed, and that is what propels the Sunny to further. So they were heading to the shoreline, but now if they push off just enough with the inertia of the explosion to start landing. Looks like we're going to either go right on top or right next to the giant ship. So last page here. What was it? Kuma's Vegapunk's last message. The last bit here. Vegapunk starts going on by saying, 25 years ago, Goldie Roger did what no one had ever done before, and sailed around the world. Is that what he said? Where was it? And as that's happening, we see Usopp crying, and he's next to Chopper Stone. He's like, was that Atlas destroying herself? What was that? What the hell was that? He said. Actually, what happened? Well, what Vegapunk says here is Gold Roger did no one had done in the world, and so they should have heard it. So was that the rest of it? Okay, so we switch here to after Atlas destroys herself. She had not shut her communication to Punk Records off. So we switched to York saying, "Oh, Atlas is gone now. That means I'm the only Vegapunk left. Me alone." And we switched to Ethan, and we see he did take damage from the attack, but half his head is like off. But it's slowly going back together. We see this black. It looks like black ooze, and there's like a sound like glub glub. It reads as it's just restoring itself. And Ethan's like, "No, there's still one more." No, wait a minute. Is that Saturn saying? Maybe they don't know Lilith because Saturn says there's that Stella who still won't shut his trap. And we get one more shot. We get a couple more shots here. So Emmett is facing off still here with Peter and Top Man again. Okay, yeah, I think if I'm reading this right, they do believe that Lilith is gone. I thought when I read this first that meant no, they think she's still alive. But no, it looks like they're saying no, there's still that Stella broadcast. So that not really any Vegapunk left. They just want to shut that off, and then they feel safe. So the other two say like, oh, so of course we must go stop that now. And they're starting to come up and rearing over the Iron Giant again, and it's just standing there, and it starts talking to itself again. And he's like commenting, "Oh man, my arm was all rusted up." So then he says, "Well, this is an emergency. So after all, Joy Boy, so should I use it?" Wait, let's see. So now Vegapunk's thing's on. Oh, here we go. So yeah, so Vegapunk's message goes, and so they should have heard it. Those purest voices of the past. And in short, and I think everyone was already aware of this, this is my prediction for the future. And I'm just a little confused because I feel like we're missing. I think what's going on here is we're still missing some of the messages because it's getting cut off because of the damage. The Dendron Bushir was damaged when they first tried to knock out the Iron Giant when they had put it into the water. And we get this one last scene. I mean, this is where the chapter ends. It's we get this scene with some prisoners in Impel Down, and they're like, "What's he talking about? Who's Gold D?" And that chapter ends right there. So, holy shit, lot to mull over here. It looks to me, I think right now that we saw Atlas. I think the Iron Giant's gonna also self-destruct or something like that in order to stop these guys. Now the thing is, he's gonna be able to stop those two. So let's go over that a little bit. So this chapter focused partially on the attempts to still keep the Gorosei at bay. So in the last chapter, Luffy's plan with the others' help worked to get rid of Mars, and in this one, did I say Atlas? Wait, who did? Luffy's plan to get rid of Mars, and then Atlas had a plan. She realized that they were going to have to stop Peter And again, I thought the first Zoro would go fight him, but we saw that Atlas wants to make sure that it's clear. It looks like Atlas wanted to make sure the Straw Hats could escape all of them, and so she decided she'll take on that responsibility. And she wanted to make sure Lilith escaped as well. So we saw that, and so she went to stop Ethan. So we got her stuff, and now Emmett, the Iron Giant's about to try to do something to stop Top Man and Peter. So now we just got Saturn. Now we left off Saturn here, seeing that he had left onto the giant ship, and I don't know what he's gonna do. Like he's got quite a repertoire of stuff he could do, but Luffy's right there and Dorian Bragi in there. My first thoughts are like have Dorian Bragi distract him a second and let Luffy use like a Gear Third style punch and just knock him into the water, and hopefully, like that's the other thing. Some that may not work, right? Obviously, because we don't know for sure if he's using a Devil Fruit, though, so that may not be enough. So I'm thinking knock him back away. Ideally, if he timed it right and they knocked him back to where the others two are, if the Iron Giant does explode, maybe we'll be able to get out of there. But oh, this was a chapter, all right. The artwork here too. I can see why Oda took a break when he draws some of the stuff between Peter and the Iron Giant, and then there was that scene with the Cootie Burst. It just looks so good in here. So what was the other thing I was going to say? Yeah, it does look like we'll have one Vegapunk escape, and appears it's gonna be the first one we met, Lilith, which is a little. She's just also like the most annoying. She's always been so cocky. So if she's gonna always, I feel like with some of these characters when they're done in these Japanese stories, the characters like that are always like that, and they never get to see them act more calm and reserved. So it's just I'm just gonna be. She's probably gonna give me a headache from now on. Anytime I see her in the future, because I'm sure Oda will always draw her, have her be a very cocky mood. So I am glad though that one of them is gonna escape. We still got York too, though. I keep forgetting. I said when I said one's gonna escape, I mean like one of the ones that's not a traitor. So I don't know what she'll do. I wonder what she'll end up doing afterward. Well, I know we pondered this long ago. I'm thinking she'll end up staying at Elbath. The thing that I'm worried about too, actually, with this is even if they can escape now, I'm wondering if York is still alive there in the Gorosei. That meaning the Gorosei can still use the Mother Flame. I'm worried that if the Straw Hats escape here, they're just gonna send the Uranus weapon after them. So it's like, how will they be able to get away from something like that? Like they know where Elbath is. They could probably just go over there and try to start raining hell on it. So I'm very concerned about that portion. Also, yes, this was very interesting again in the beginning to hear about that the D clan has been being hunted. It's something that again I was like, why didn't we think about that before? Maybe some other people have, but I just kind of assumed that the government thought, they're not a threat to us anymore. And clearly I'm wrong because we saw a flashback of that. So it's not just people studying the Void Century. They're looking to snuff out any and all threats. They're pulling that full how would you call it? It's like what you see with any kind of despot. They always look for anyone that's a threat and purge them. This is stuff that's happened realistically throughout history. Look at like what happened with the dictator Sulla when he came back to Rome, became a dictator. You can see what happened when King Herod was worried about Jesus, and he thought Jesus was going to be someone who would uprise against him like militarily, and had all those children killed in Bethlehem, right? And yeah, we're seeing Oda's showing us that the government here, he's using a realistic actions that governments and other terrible people have used throughout history and incorporating it in the story. I should bring this down. What else here? Yeah, Atlas's sacrifice. That was not something I was expecting. I don't know why I didn't. But yeah, she made this ultimate sacrifice. So that's another thing. Is well, I'm still wondering. Like, was Edison? Could he still be alive? Um, so because he was still down below. I mean, I like how Oda still had some funny moments in this as well. We had uh Luffy and Emmett like, hey, hi Joey boy, who are you talking to? That's something. Oh, that's something to think about now. If he leaves, I have a feeling the Emmett, this Iron Giant, is not going to make it out of here either. By the way, I keep forgetting too. Look, we saw that he's like, I'm going to say like a couple 100 feet tall or more. The scale of Top Man and Peter over him is just almost breathtaking or awe, and because it's you could see that Peter especially, like, he must be he might be, yeah, he's got to be even bigger than Kaido. Like, we always thought, oh, look how impressive. I'm always impressed by the way they drew Kaido. I was watching the episode a while back where he's flying over that village where the Straw Hats are, and you got that scale of him. But I think Peter might take the cake there. He almost looks like he's twice as broad, or maybe 3 times as broad as Kaido is, given how we just saw him, and he just took a bite out of the Iron Giant without any problem. Uh, so let's take our hats off and have a moment of silence for Atlas, and hope the gods that the Nika that the straws can escape, because they're so close now. These last 5 chapters really have been drawn out, but I'm here for it. Um, I'm just also, the fate of Stella too. Um, what was I going to say earlier? There was something. Come on, get on there. I think this chapter, by the way, is just called Atlas. Yeah, Atlas. That's the other thing. Yeah, the last thing. I was wondering if there are other people. I think I brought this up a little bit earlier. Like with Clover, who can hear the voices of all things, or was he just being metaphorical, saying like, because he had traveled enough and seen things getting destroyed. He's probably found other places there, or maybe there are other like research places around the world, and they um, were destroyed, and it was just a more quiet approach that the government had used on these other hypothetical places that I'm thinking Clover would seen, rather than have to resort to a buster call. Um, with that, like they could just send in assassins from Cypherpole to take care of it. And one last thing too is this message to Vegapunk. What I'm trying to like go over what he was trying to say. Like, did he? It sounds like he's saying that there should have been a how do you say that? That something about people hearing. Oh, maybe he's referencing how Luffy's hearing that. I wonder if he's saying like once Roger died, it was like a. That's weird. The man who did nothing before, so they should have heard it. It's almost like he's saying Roger's. Maybe because, well, actually, when Roger died, he inspired people to start looking for his One Piece. It's almost sounding like he's talking about something more not magical, but that once Roger found the One Piece, that should have been a call of a call to arms kind of thing, raise the banners or whatever to the rest of the D clan, that it's their time now to step up and fight back. But also, and that's great too. He used Gold D Roger. I'm very sure that up to this point we had not heard that no one else knew that except I don't even think the other. I don't even think Rayleigh conveyed that to the Straw Hats. Um, all I can remember is, of course, the flashback that we get to see of Vegapunk, not Vegapunk, excuse me, Whitebeard talking to Roger, having a drink together at Wano, it looked like, and Roger explaining to Whitebeard, and so that's so us as a viewers get to learn this too. Uh, that his name isn't Gold Roger, it's Gold D Roger. I'm assuming that was something done by the papers at the behest of the government to hide that, so that other D clan members wouldn't realize who he is, and to keep, of course, keep the D. Did they have that on Luffy's poster? I'm trying to think now. Does Garp too? I'm trying to remember. I know Law had his name from the D. I can't remember now if obviously Roger. No one else knows about Roger, but do other people know about uh, Luffy or Garp having the D name? One last thing. To the thing with the message here with Emmett. I'm wondering what Emmett now was relating to. I wonder if Joy Boy. I have a feeling when that mess we got that brief bit from Joy Boy talking to Emmett recalling that conversation he had with Joy Boy, the Joy Boy. If Joy Boy was saying at that point he knew that Emmett would, like, he could foresee that. It's almost like Joy Boy had could see the future a bit in a way where he knew Emmett was going to be important to. Joy Boy knew Emmett was going to be important to his successor. That he knew he would. Maybe that was at a point where, like, he knew the war had been lost and he had to prepare for the future, prepare for another chance to take out the government. The same thing that, like, Vivi's ancestor knew. Like, she spread the poneglyphs across the world so that the D clan could use them with other people. So it sounded like there's this is the moment here where Emmett is like thinking, "Is this what you meant, Joy Boy? All those that I had to do in order to help your successor." It's funny though because he keeps referencing Luffy as if he is the same Joy Boy, like a more literal reincarnation rather than just he is the inheritor of Joy Boy, his ideals and stuff, but he don't have any of his memories or anything. It's not like it's like that. There's like that the Wheel of Time. There's a book series that within that TV show that where that kid, the main character Rand, is a literal reincarnation of the hero named Lou Stern, and he I think later on I was reading later I was jumping ahead. I was looking at a book and it looks like he's somehow communing with the memory or the spirit of his the person he's reincarnated from in that. But that kind of stuff is not happening here. It's not the same. Avatar: The Last Airbender would be a better one, where the Avatar is always reincarnated, but he's also a new person. This is more like that. But in that way, in that series too, the Avatar can commune with their previous uh, Avatar members, the spirits. They can talk to them, and uh, Luffy has not had anything like that happen. But the way Emmett is talking to Luffy implies that he kind of thinks that is what's happening, and maybe Luffy will somehow have a way to learn, see the memories, or commune with his predecessor. So yeah, it's very interesting that with that part how Emmett is implying that through the way he talks with him. So I hope that we can find out more about that at some point. We probably won't now. This next chapter, I'm sure, it's going to be the. I feel like we'll have to get like two more chapters here before they can actually escape these guys. This last standoff with. It could take more chapters, obviously, because the way I keep thinking there would be like one more chapter, but the way Oda's having to put so much in here, we'll have to just see. But it's definitely like seems like it's close now because everyone's getting off the island, and now it's just about keeping the Gorosei at bay long enough. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching.